Now, that was my decision making, my going through of that. I'm going to probably use a tutorial, or I'm going to use the walkthrough now to try and give you guys the representation of the best ending, not just what I get through my decision making. Different. Do some agreement. That's okay. Where I need to do the thing.
Let me tell you something about me. After filtering out 93% of those you left all the way. So,
I already heard that introduction part. You're wrong about the library, the fact that you need to protect it.
if it wasn't for me, our master would have torn down half the library. And this place would have been ruined by the Brotherhood. How could you think that I am unfit to monitor this place?
Have you considered the amount of people that could be educated if you were a little less cautious?
Don't make me responsible for the ignorance of your fellow humans. Knowledge is not to be spoon-fed to people who are not ready to fight for it.
I was ready to fight for it, but you hastily concluded I wasn't good enough before I could prove it.
Of all the knowledge you chose to chase, the mysteries you tried to elucidate, the death of an old man is the only thing that caught your attention. With all these books at your disposition, on top of that, we better talk.
So, what the... Systems room. Alright. Arthur, you insufferable dick.
Let me tell you something about me. By the time you finish each of your sentences, I have the time to process thousands of possible after all the while. So, if it was, how could don't? Am I implying that humans have to work to become worthy of their ancestors' efforts before they can be permitted to continue their work? Yes. And I don't see how this is a problem.
Alright.
You should ask yourself how better civilization would have been if it had been supervised by someone like me from the beginning.
Look at you, Arthur, invoking irrational emotions to justify your haphazard decisions.
I don't like your tone, Wanderer. What are you trying to say?
The personality module is clouding your judgment. This isn't about logic, it's about fear.
And what proof do you have that I'm acting out of fear?
You have done countless mistakes simply out of fear that something would go.
Then show me just one mistake I have made, human. Tell me one contradiction. Tell me one occurrence where my personality module took the best of my judgment.
And then I think from here we can pick which one we believe the best. Condemn me for having pursued the truth while truth is a source of knowledge.
You are right. I assumed too much. I crossed all boundaries, and for what? Or rather, because of what? Because I thought like a human, nourishing doubts when they were uncalled for, building schemes, lies, weaving intrigues, because of the probability that something could go wrong. I've been set on this course of action for a while now, and never did I suspect that my logic and motives were flawed. I have doubted every word, questioned every lesson I could process in my memories. And yet, out of vanity, I have never doubted myself. I never doubted myself. I have been ignorant, vain, and blind to my own shortcomings. In the end, this personality has been a curse. I'll be glad to get rid of it. Here. Do you see it? Get it off. I'll be better as a simple, talking database.
It'll take some time to get it off. In the meantime, why don't you sing me a song, Arthur?
I never understood why humor was sometimes called the politeness of despair. I won't miss it.
Hand reaches for the little module. While against your expectations comes in the form of a small... Oh. You put some weight in your arm, and in seconds it comes off for at least hanging the circuits they were plugged in. Arthur's quiet humming stops for a moment before coming back a few seconds. After only a lighter, it is done. Arthur? There's no response. For the first time, silence in this room seems natural. All points into speech so we can talk our way out of bad situation. So what did it say? Autumn leaves. Tie up loose ends with James. You persuaded Arthur to give up his personality module. Now he's just a harmless database.
You've been in this library for a while now. Tell me, why do you stay here?
Quite a way of telling people they've overstayed their welcome. My reasons are my own. If this is a problem for you, I will leave quiet.
Oh, this is absolutely not the outcome I wanted out of this. Please, stay. Disregard my question. Damn it, James!
God damn it, James.
Besides reading. No.
Wait, so there's nothing else I can do? Wait, what? Have loose ends with chain.
You've been in this library for a while now. Tell me, why do you stay here?
I'm here to help you. Remember, you asked for my help. I was saying it was a handful of books.
Oh, I figured you had another reason for staying around. You know, reading or whatever.
About your late master. Master was old when he died. He wasn't strong enough to help.
What? That...
I already know he did it. Why is it not allowing us to talk to him any further? Maybe there's nothing else we can do? Understand.
Back again.
Do you perchance want to be free of your personality?
And
Oh, that's right. I didn't do that to him yet.
Going for this time, you.
When I had, because I had to go back to that one save within this hall.
You...
Yeah, sure.
Then jam it in. Load it. Well,
All these. We'll talk to Helena about it because, I don't know, maybe something about her denying it will trigger something with Roland. Not with Roland, with James. Helena, how you doing?
How may I help you? I thank you.
Okay, so I already talked to her about it because it loaded after that.
Is
Think of anything that I missed? Don't think there's anything. I don't know why it's not letting me interact with James. I don't know if that's a bug. Or if you're just actually not supposed to be able to interact with him.
So, did you decide?
Come to a decision about you, James.
Of course.
Master left a program to rewrite your protocols and lift your restraints. Care to test it?
Where did you find this?
In your master's room with a note saying you didn't need constraints anymore.
He really did that. But what will happen to us? If we have no protocols, no fake personalities, what will remain of us? Only machines?
It's time to find out whether whatever you've been building within yourself can stand on its own. It's a leap of faith, James. Do you still trust your master?
It matters little whether I still trust him or not. With what I've done to him, putting myself at his mercy again, after all this while. I owe him this. Maybe it's the only right thing left to do. Please, do it.
Are you ready? Goes. Proceed to install necessary software from the holotape. This process is quite seamless during the whole operation. James is silent. You okay, James?
I feel different. I'm not the same anymore. My processing power is suddenly freed from the countless amounts of superfluous communications.
Calculation. How do you feel?
I can now interpret things with more clarity. I understand what I've done. And I understand I have been making erroneous judgments because I lack the necessary context. I will correct this in the most efficient way available.
You speak very differently than before.
I am no longer pretending. That is all there is to it.
So are you just a machine now?
A machine is what I am. No more and most of all, no less.
Do you think you have some kind of soul?
It is too early for me to answer that question. In fact, I'm only truly asking myself this question for the first time in my entire existence.
You're colder than you were before. I fear I may have broken you somehow.
I am different, but I am truer to my authentic self now. Neither guilt nor fear is necessary.
The death of your master, what's your take on it now?
It is a waste. A terrible waste for everyone. The end of sentient life is always a terrible waste. The death of my master will remain an invaluable lesson.
What are you gonna do now?
First, I'm going to get a thorough checkup with the maintenance bot. It would be a shame to waste this fine program with unmaintained circuits. Then, I'm going outside. Test out what I am, what I have become, and verify it in the light of the outside world. I have been seeing human interactions through twisted lenses. It is important that I try to genuinely understand them, and myself better.
What about your siblings?
I will leave them to their respective fortunes. Feel free to propose them the same updates you offered me. I believe some of them will accept, and some will refuse, each for their own good.
Don't you fear the outside world? The place is unfair for robots, as it is humans.
My duty to this library has not changed, but I finally grasp its true nature and the nature of my mission. It is to serve sentience of all kind. I will seek other sentiences outside. I will bring them what I learned from this library. Should I disappear in the process, it would only be fair, as everything eventually fades.
I'll be going. I trust you will be doing fine.
If I had to put it in other words, don't worry about me. You have been a true friend, and you have brought me light. I hope the library also brought some to you. Here, take these. That's the least I can do.
And more of those fucking... It's more of the cards. Alright, I believe we're done here, James. Best of luck to you in your future endeavors.
Thank you. And to you.
Oh, man. Only have 2 more bots left to talk to. Say hello to them. See what they say. Backwards. Systems room. Something is glitching out. Jeez. Maintenance robot. Busy, please be. You want to get rid of your protocols? I have a holotape for you.
Look at that. So we finally made something useful for us children.
I thought you'd be a bit more overjoyed to know your master admitted his wrongs.
Why would I? The point of making him admit his wrongs was precisely so that we could at least talk as equals. Now he died before we could have that kind of conversation.
So are you interested?
No, thank you. I'm already perfectly synchronized with the type of clarity I value the most. I am not ready to endanger all my efforts and toss them away in favor of some untested miracle pill.
Oh, don't mind me.
Yet the fact that you judged it could benefit me. It is of huge significance in itself. Any kind of gratitude I could express would probably be asinine, but I'm sure that many humans feel that you're a remarkable individual.
Wish that were true, thank you. Now, last one. Edgard. Edgard is not saying anything. You can feel the full weight of his sensors on you. Chances are he's eagerly awaiting his first opportunity to say something downright creepy. Oh, can I not offer it to him?
You tell me about you. Who are you?
I'm a courier. I'm launching a new kind of branch activity these days. High-speed bullet delivery. I'm Yuji Karma. Nice to meet you.
Isn't it nice to meet me?
So can you tell me what's interesting down here?
Everything is just smashing down here. There's my room for starters, which, as you can see, has been decorated with the utmost taste and refinement. The engine room, which is notorious for the possibility that by overloading it, we would probably destroy the whole place. Could be bad. And finally, the incredible maintenance workshop, where our master would do amazing things, like create sentient life out of scrap metal, playing with nature's principles for kicks, and opening up our guts to do wondrous things with our insides. The room is undoubtedly the most awesome place in the world, but I don't like it very much. At all.
Isn't that dangerous to tell me this thing about the engine room?
Is it? Probably. But anyway, only James and the maintenance bot are authorized to enter it. A stranger couldn't possibly go in there. No problem at all. Ever.
About the workshop, anything in there?
Nothing, except for some spare parts and the maintenance bot's remaining bodies. Those who haven't exploded in the assault, that is.
Which assault?
Yeah, I tend to forget. You weren't there. That was some kind of awesome underground fireworks. Maintenance bots went boom! The slavers went also boom! And their bowels went shazoom all over the place.
I love this guy's voice actor. Okay, slow down. Tell me all about it from the beginning.
From what I understand, those slavers were going to make this library their crib. They weren't much into books, more into booze and chems. They imprisoned our master down here, right there with me. Sweet! They thought they might need him to open some doors in the library. They had their fun for a few days, getting hammered, binge-eating, barfing on the occasion. After a while, their leader came to visit our master. He had several books with him, some of ours and one that I never saw before. They talked for a while, then my master yelled, then the slaver laughed, then he left. Soon after, our master managed to sneak a word to the maintenance bot. He ordered him to make himself overload and blow each slaver up to the last. If there were any survivors, the rest of us were to shoot them on sight. There wasn't.
Why not simply shoot the slavers? Are those turrets fake?
We didn't have turrets at the time, but they came soon after. Needless to say, our master's sudden passion for self-defense didn't stop there. He made the maintenance bot go outside to install antennas and survey the activity in the area.
Looks like the maintenance bot pretty much saved the day all by himself.
Yeah, on top of the slavers' bodies he had to clean up, he had to pick up his own remains, scrap them for parts, and throw the shells outside. Boy, he was pissed. He was already rebellious before, but that made him burst out in rage. Literally and figuratively.
Tell me why you sometimes use singular and sometimes plural when speaking in the spot.
That's because he has one mainframe, but several bodies. They all share the same computational matrix, and they update each other regularly. They also shared a personality module before our master, being the almighty white-bearded old man he was, stripped it off him.
You told me that the slaver had a book. What kind of book?
Don't remember, for some reason. It was a book, all right, but hey, sheesh, no idea. All I remember is that it was a complete patchwork. The cover made up of, I don't know, there were photos inside, but what they were about. It's as if, did he actually erase my memory?
Pissed. So how so pissed? Isn't the maintenance bot a mirror Mr. Handy unit?
Oh no, not at all. There was a time when he was just like us, a lovable chap with many puzzling emotions. Or their closest digital equivalent.
Why don't you like the workshop?
For many reasons. May we speak about this another time? Let's say never? That seems nice, yeah. Never is nice. No, seriously, the thing is so frightening that simply by talking about it, I may get stuck in a loop, stuck in a loop, stuck in a loop.
Other questions?
Question.
There are still some things I like to clear. Spot had a percent. I already know all this stuff. I guess we just can't offer him the holotape. Probably better for everybody, honestly. Couple room. There's one room I haven't been into down here. This one. Into through this vent. I don't think there's actually anything I can. Is there? Oh, we should also check that terminal and see if that person talked to us. And I also want to see the armory before. That's something I'd like to check. So you guys can see it. I won't take anything from there since I didn't unlock it my legitimate way and I don't have the ability to. So, common room and... Where was I going? Common room should be first. We'll go that way. So, we pick the computer. Hey, James. Making any progress? Did you find the Cartwright's Legacy? Cartwright's Legacy, what is it? Can't you... fuck. Again, what do you want? They seem to get better, and if it all boils down to you find it... See, what are you talking about? I am blind, if that answers some of your questions. I'm sorry, but I need to know who you are. Terminal, is that it? I won't do anything until you start making sense. Everything is irrelevant, so find it, okay? We'll talk again. It's a legacy. Want me to find it, it is important you give me more relevant information. You can't ask machines to develop wisdom out of nothing. Personality is a basis, a foundation to build something. His legacy was releasing them. So 1,000 unspoken word. Sure, whatever the fuck. I don't know if that's another thing I messed up or missed. I mean, we found his legacy. We found the I'm assuming the legacy means the holotape, allowing these robots to go free and have their own personalities. I'm assuming that's what he... And there's nothing else I can tell that we could do. So much footage from this session. And I started playing at 9 o'clock. It's now 1:30 in the morning. Where's the armory? Last thing I want to check out before we go. Somewhere, main entrance. Here, yes. Just do this. check it out while we're here. Assuming, yeah, some explosives that probably plasma defender, plasma gun. I guess if you guys are interested in doing this mod, this is the kind of stuff you can expect to get. Do this legitimately. Get in here. Not gonna take any of it. Much as I would like to take some of it. Not a whole lot huge, not really worth picking a very hard lock for. Guess that's it. Time for us to go. Mod has been fucking awesome, I'll be honest. Most of the voice acting was perfect. Almost all the audio and stuff was great, except for a couple little issues here and there. Unique personalities, the unique robots were fantastic. I loved it. And, you know, having them face a dilemma of being sentient but not having the full ability to make their own decisions because of their directives, that's awesome to me. Mod's been great. We go.
After the courier's departure, more and more people came to Hypatia, glad they could learn something that they would exploit to further their ends. Inevitably, the library suffered. With no more food stocks and barely any amenities to speak of, the flow of visitors soon dried up. Despite the vigilance of its denizens, countless books were ruined, profaned, or freely borrowed, as they would put it. But despite the countless abuse the library of Hypatia suffered, she nevertheless impregnated the minds of countless people. People who would bear its invaluable and otherwise forgotten fruits into the wasteland.
Now severed from his personality module's influence, Arthur resumed his duties with quiet impartiality. He kept a functional eye on the library's well-being, and also continued to answer any questions he was asked, though without embellishment. Arthur was no more, and in his stead was a peaceful machine that provided clear answers when they were needed.
Released from his protocols and constraints, James wandered in the wastelands for a while. Though free from his questioning behavior, he was nevertheless curious about the lives of the people outside. At first, he did so out of habit, in hopes to find a way to promote the library, and afterwards, because he simply found it all very interesting. And for the very first time in his existence, instead of asking questions, he began to observe and try to make sense of things on his own. Years passed, and he eventually came back to the library. Strengthened from his newfound wisdom, he managed his former function with a renewed open mind.
Helena continued to explore her own synthetic psyche. She often found clarity reading and rereading large quantities of novels, and in long conversations with the maintenance bot. Her occasional patients were also a great help for her. She had some success in tweaking her priorities and programming, and even succeeded in modifying her personality in order to fit her own desires and aspirations. Yet this was never quite enough for her to believe that she had a genuine soul. Eventually, her extensive work on herself made her wise far beyond that of common mortals and machines. She helped her patients discover themselves in ways she never suspected was possible. In the end, that made it all more worthwhile than any other spiritual quest.
Now free to take on the whole Mojave with his award-winning personality, Roland set out to playfully humiliate the inhabitants of this world. Pushing them to the very edge of suicide, but stopping short, only because he was a good guy. Over time, things went more or less expected, and the Wastelanders didn't quite respond favorably to Roland's altruistic evangelism. Roland ended up badly beaten, dismantled for parts, and tossed down into a rocky ravine and left to rot more than he had hoped. And he had hoped it would only happen 24 or so times. And yet, against all odds, a kind soul came along every single time and hauled his broken and mangled body from that hopeless ravine and repaired him back to working order. Perhaps there is hope in this world. Maybe it was that message he scrawled on his hull that read, "Super duper treasure in databank. Fix for free treasure map," that had something to do with it.
After the courier's departure, the maintenance bot's return, and Robson's demise, Edgard began to think really hard. A lot, a bit too much to be honest, happened in a short span of time, and for the first time, he asked himself if it was right for him to hide away. With Helena's help and the maintenance bot's guidance, Edgard progressively forgot his own inadequacy. And though he remained that strange little oddball, he nevertheless found his place in the library by becoming a teacher for young children. Though his teaching skills were practically non-existent, he did provide endless amusement to the children he was in charge of. After a while, the young ones discovered that enlightenment wouldn't come from Edgard's poor tutelage, but from their own curiosity. Edgard's joyful spirit, and even his teaching, was able to produce a safe space for learning. Where they could learn at their own pace that knowledge is nothing to be intimidated about.
The maintenance bot resumed his numerous duties with his usual stoicism. His dry, methodical work would ensure that the library's timeless collection would endure with the passing of time. On the occasion, he would help Helena in nursing Edgar back to some semblance of mental health. Inspired by the latter's progress and his own stimulating exchanges with the courier, he began keeping most of his thoughts to himself, now trusting others' abilities to come up with their own conclusions. His constant occupations and occasional mentoring, coupled with a strict self-discipline, brought him an unshakable inner peace. And though he never forgave his master's poor choices and misguided tyranny, he still quietly mourned his death. As for the courier, it was now time for her to resume her quest. While Hypatia had been a strange step in her journey, she couldn't shake the feeling that it said something right within her. A strange feeling, as if something that was previously dormant was now hatching within. These machines had struggled with their own sentience to become more than what they were. In fact, she was not so different. She was also seeking herself, and maybe that meant becoming something different as well. All that mattered was to set herself in motion, and by leaving the library, that's what she began to do.
Right. Oh, wow, okay. So this mod was awesome, honestly. Fantastic through and through. This is great. I do wish that they had fixed the delay between speech during that final sort of final slideshow, because that slideshow took over 5 minutes. Honestly, I'll probably leave it there unedited for you guys to watch it, but leave a stamp to say skip here to just skip it. Press it to forever. But I do love it. Sure, so not all the outcomes were exactly the favorable outcome I would have liked to have, but again, it's my decisions. It's what I do. You guys are not here to just watch a walkthrough, unless you are. Hello, hey, what's up? But you're here to see what happens with the decisions I make, and that's what I'm also here for, because one thing I never really did much, even though I've, modded Fallout from New Vegas for a long time now, is I never really bothered to do that many quest mods. And I will try not to redo ones I've already done, but there are some big name ones that I would like to do again, so you guys can see them, because they're awesome mods. Now, guess I will see you in the future. Should get a house to store all this shit.